I didn't record, so I will restart. Let's put it aside. And I will start all over. Sorry about it. I didn't record. So, okay, what we're going to do today, we're going to learn about relative valuation. In relative valuation, we will use what we learned in the previous session, ratio analysis, some of the ratios, especially indicators. We talk about example or two, and I will project to other ratios you can use at the same idea. For example, we will take P over E. If I know the P over E of other companies, I can take major company that's very similar to mine. Better will be taking several companies and take the average of the ratio P over E. Based on that P over E, I can project what should be the price per share for my own company. If my own company has earning per share of 10, it will be 20 times 10. That will be the price of my own company. Why? Very simple. 200 divided by 10 will give me the same ratio. But we'll get more into that. That will be one topic we'll cover today. The second topic, as I promised last time, we will cover accounting of merger and acquisitions. In my opinion, you can't really finish graduate school without knowing it. It will give you also the opportunity to know what does it mean minority interest when you see it in financial statements. What does it really mean goodwill? And pay attention, goodwill, it sounds similar to intangibles, similar also to patents, but it really isn't. It might reflect those type of assets underlying in the company, but it's not the same. And it's very important to know what goodwill is and how different it is from intangible that you might see in the balance sheets of a company. That will be topic number 2, and that will be most of it. And then we'll sum up by making sure that everything you need to do for your paper, it will be clear. Okay, so those two, and that will end up the session with this one. Everybody's happy? Is that clear, guys, what we're gonna do? Yeah. Daphna, is that clear? Very good. Isaac? Is that clear, Isaac? Very good. Everybody happy? So, okay, so let's go move on. By the way, I teach a whole course on corporate valuation. And in real life is that, you know, you teach the whole course and then you see what people do in real life. And that's what I do too, that 70% at least, I would say, using relative valuation and not the conventional one based on discounted cash flow. In other words, although there is 2 commonly used methods of discounted cash flow and relative valuation, most of the people end up in relative valuation. Then you ask yourself why. And the real reason is because relative valuation is easy to calculate. I think more important even it's easy to explain. And I think that's the main reason for people. On the other hand, discounted cash flow, it's extremely elaborated and might expose you to a real understanding of the company and why you get to that valuation. Personally, I think you should do both of them if you are a serious one. If you're a real analyst, you must do both of them. And moreover, if you do relative valuation, a little beyond what I'm going to show you today, you end up doing very similar to discounted cash flow. You'll do a lot of steps to make sure that your valuation is valid. In any case, I think you should really finish your graduate studying at least to be exposed to those methods, okay? I won't go into the discounted cash flow in depth. I will just mention there is a whole complete course. Whoever is interested, and I think everybody should, honestly, especially if you are going to be a manager, and it really honestly doesn't matter which field. If you're planning on being a manager, you know, valuation is an extremely important part. and everyone should really be exposed to that. And taking one course, it's not really a major undertaking. So if I just, at least I will show you, whoever's interested, more than welcome to take that course. It's called Corporate Valuation. And this is the whole material. It's a heavy duty course. It's not an easy one, but honestly, I think it's one of the nicest. Open your eyes. You have all the stuff here. And when you study about growth, you really go into depth, what it is really growth, blah, blah, blah. Cost of capital, what does it really mean? This is financial statement analysis. It's usually a course you should take and you are taking before you take corporate valuation. It's preparing for that. And you have a business simulation. I think that the sequence is supposed to be financial statement analysis, corporate valuation, and then you do business simulation, when the business simulation is supposed also to include valuation of the company you're running. So that's really why the sequence is supposed to be that way. In any case, whoever wants, you're more than welcome. I just will mention, with that I will move on. There is a simulation here, which is really nice, which I added here. You can do valuation for any company you know, and you like, almost, not really, not all. I'm missing few. I have about 3,600 companies. So if you choose one of them, let's say, let's take, how about Facebook? So here we go, Facebook. And countries, United States. The only reason I'm showing you that because don't think that the relative valuation is like the only method. This is more academically considered a better method. This is the only clicks you're supposed to do, and then you're done. You can put internet, I will just put it internet. Let's do that one, that's fine. Okay, it does the whole calculation automatically. And in the course, what you're supposed to do, you learn all that calculations, the effective tax rate, return on invested capital, a lot of concepts. We talked a little bit in this course, not really all of them, a lot of them we didn't. The beautiful part is uploading all the data from the exchange. I think I showed it to you in the first session. And it does the whole calculation. And that's the method of discounted cash flow. Moreover, it has a little simulator which tells you what the range it's supposed to be. So if the valuation comes to be $94 per share, it tells you that it's not supposed to be more than 104. So that means this is really overvalued. The market is pricing the share more than it really should. And that's a good start to watch because we're expecting it's probably to fall over time. So that's really the idea of this simulation. Let's go back to our stuff. So this is whoever is interested. But if you watch my video on relative valuation, and now I'm coming back to our session. I put a little video here for you for merger and acquisitions. And if you see the video, I refer in the end of this video to that simulation. So you can skip that section in this video, or then you know what I'm talking about. And the objective there to show how important it is to know what is minority interest, because without it, you can't really do a true valuation. So that's why this session today on merger and acquisition is extremely important. And that's why I'm covering it. I think everybody should already know it. Okay, so let's start. Okay, let's start. Let's go back. What is relative valuation? The idea of relative valuation is that when I want to value one type of an asset, I can look at comparable assets. For example, if I want to buy a house in a specific location, and that house has, let's say, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, a certain size of a land, and then I want to make a bid. How much should I pay for it? We all do, you know, we approach real estate agent And we ask them, can you pull out for us several transactions that happen in that area, which are similar to my house that I'm interested in buying. In another word, what we're trying to do is we say, okay, we want to buy a house. That's it. We want to buy a house. That's the assets we're interested in. And the house has certain attributes. So let's say size of the bedrooms, let's say number of bedrooms, and has, let's say, how many beds, etc., etc. All the attributes. Now that I know the attributes of the assets I'm interested in, I ask the agent, could you please put out several houses, let's say house number A, B, C, let's say D, like I have 4 of them. Then I ask him, could you please tell me how much those houses were sold for? So he said this one was sold, let's say, for $300,000. This one was sold for $350,000. This one was sold around $325,000. And this one, let's say, was sold for $290,000. And now what we usually do, we say, okay, I probably shouldn't pay more than $350,000. I probably shouldn't pay more than $290,000. So I'm immediately in my mind says, what the range that I'm going to put my offer. So most likely I'm not going to make an offer outside of the 290, let's do 290K, meaning thousands, to 350K. That's most likely going to be the range. Now I want to be a little more specific and say, so how much I would give? Should I say 290? We usually do. We give the lowest bid and then see what happens. But if I really want to know what should be the price, I shouldn't really offer more, the likely I should end up paying. So I say, okay, I can take the average, and that's what people do many times. They say, okay, let's take the average. So I take the average of those prices, and that's what I'm offering. More or less. Did I miss it? Yeah, so it's about 316. But it would not be really wise on my side to just say 316. And I will say why. Because maybe those are similar houses, but they're not exactly the same. I never saw something that, even a twins, they're not exactly the same. So maybe this house was too expensive because, it didn't really have exactly 4 bedrooms. It had 4.5, and maybe that's why it was a little more expensive. Let's say this one was it was 325 because it has a little bigger land than this one, but maybe this had 3 bedrooms and a bigger land. So there is some diversity between even those comparable houses. So after I get my mind with whatever is the average, I might do some modification. That would be the next stage. Okay, the next step would be, how about I will do some modification based on how different is my house from the comparable houses. And then I might adjust my offer based on that. So let's see what are the steps. Step number 1, I define what I'm looking for. And I found, let's say, and I want to come up with offer, how much I want to pay for it. So that's step number 1. Number 2, I look for comparable companies, A to D. After I find them, comparable transactions that are similar to mine, Then I see how much each one of them was sold for. Then I take some, then I say to myself, what the range most likely I'm going to end up. Most likely I'm going to end up in this range. Then I take something like an average. That's give me a benchmark. And then to that benchmark, I will do some modifications so it will better reflect my house to come up with the right price as close as possible to what it's supposed to be. So that's usually the process of using relative valuation. It's called relative because it's relative to comparable companies. Now, this is really a reflection of close to what other houses being sold today. If the economy will go down next month or half a year later, you know, my house might also go down. So this is really different from the second method I mentioned, the first, in fact, I should call it the first method. The method based on discounted cash flow, it's really trying to find what the true value of that house based on how benefit it will give to the family, how already, or if I'm going to rent it, how much income I will make out of it, okay? That's really what the discounted cash flow method do. In relative valuation, we are more interested in finding what is the true value based on transactions that recently happened in the market. That's the major differences between the two methods. Unfortunately, since I didn't teach you the first method, I can't really go into depth in that difference. But it's good to know that it exists, and we're going to focus on implementing this one for your own company, for your own paper. So what are you supposed to do in your paper? Let's say I'm writing it for one of, let's say, let me pick up real company, and I will do what I'm expecting you to do in your paper, okay? So let's go, open another screen. Let's go here. Let's go to the course. And I put that simulation, by the way, this simulation is exactly as I put here. I thought whoever is interested, you're more than welcome to use it. It's a nice one. So I go here, and let's take a company. Let's take, there's another one that I really like, Netflix. I think it's an excellent example. Netflix, let's see, Netflix. Anybody see Netflix? Yeah, here we go. Here it is. Okay, the nice thing is, or I can use the company. I'm not interested that you do the discounted cash flow. Although it will be nice, since it does most of it, you can compare the two valuation. Most likely in the discounted cash flow, you'll find out, this is, let's put entertainment. That's the major industry that really Netflix is in. It automatically did the valuation based on the discounted cash flow. So if you want, it could be really nice in your paper to show that based on discounted cash flow, that the valuation is really low relative to what it's being traded as of the end of 2019, okay? So that's really a good reference, but not necessary for your paper. Advisable, okay? I encourage you to do that. What you really need to do is go into data, and I put some ratios for you. Let me take one of them. Let's take the one that I just mentioned, P over E. According to the P over E, the ratio for Netflix, it's 78:3,462, okay? But this is really high, by the way, extremely high. But I'm more interested to find how should be the valuation of Netflix relative to other companies. So what I really need to do, it's already look at that ratio for Netflix. I really more likely should go and look for other company that's similar to Netflix. Anybody wants to guess or suggest a company that it's similar to Netflix, traded in the stock exchange? Anybody? Anybody?
Amazon, maybe?
Similar in what way, though?
Which one?
Similar in what way?
Amazon.
You know, as close as we can think, there is no real comparison.
HBO.
Which one?
Hulu.
HBO
Hulu.
now.
HBO.
Hulu, yeah, Hulu is better. Hulu is better.
Okay, let's try that. Okay. How do you spell it?
No,
H-
Hulu, it's owned by a different company. I don't remember which one.
Is this
but
an American company? The only ones that I have
it's an
here-
American pound company, but it's owned by a different one. That they do a lot of stuff, not just the streaming.
Uh-huh. So let's
So,
try
but you
this.
can search Hulu. Search it on Google.
Which one? Google?
Yeah, search Hulu on Google. Google it.
No, but let's try. Maybe it's in my list, so it will save us time to find out the ratio.
It's probably not.
HBO.
Who is owned
Hulu
by them?
isn't traded yet. HBO is traded.
HBO. Let's see if HBO here. HBO. Hold a second. HBO. No, I don't have HBO. Let's see. HBO. No, it's not there. So you know what? Let's live with it. Let's go and Google it. What the heck?
Or maybe Disney.
Disney also could be, yeah. Let's try with HBO. I probably will find it in Yahoo Finance. HBO.
Or
I know
Amazon. They got
HBO.
Amazon Prime Video.
Yahoo.
There's no good equivalent because they all belong to someone else. HBO
Exactly.
belongs
The
to
truth, yeah, you're hitting on a really good point. In fact, that's what I meant when I said before. None of those will be exactly the same, far from being the same. It's even hard to swallow the idea that they are in the same comparables. That's why I take more than one. But let's try that one. Is that one the HBO?
כאן 11, כאן 11.
I don't think so. With all due respect. So let's see HBO. Can we have HBO? HBO. Let's see if we have it in Yahoo Finance. Yeah, we do. So let's see, this is it. Yeah. So we have HBO. In fact, Yahoo Finance is already a nice website. We should say thank you to them for giving all this information for free. And then you can go into, you have a lot of stuff here, by the way, you know, the profile, which is really nice. You can use that for your paper, by the way. It's a good one. Financials, you can see the financial statements, balance sheets, income statement. So it's before. You can look at their pricing. You have historical data, meaning you can see how it was, you know, all the pricing of this company. Let's see if they should have in the analysis, I think it should be. See, they have these ratios. A number of analysts, low, blah, 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 estimated earning per share. Here we have. So we have here earning per share, E over P. Should be here. I always forget where to put it. We do have earning per share. But where is the P over E? It should be here, P over E. Nope. Profile, historical, statistics, maybe some, I don't know, let's see. Here we go. We have even trailing P over E. Forward P over E, this is really based on what analyst thinks, but we don't really have any things here, which is not good, doesn't help. And there is previous P over E. Let's see if we have. No, I don't see. For some reason, we picked up a company. We don't have P over E for some reason. We can find the price, okay? We can find the price, by the way, you don't have to give up, okay? They have price over sales, and we can find out a different way to find it. What we can really do is go into historical data, go into price as of beginning of the year, if we really want, because earning we won't find. Let's go into, here we go, I'm right here. I go into December 30, so the closing price. By the way, it's very important to know, let's see, this I don't like, see, didn't think about it. They should have kept, a good programming is to keep this line, because I don't want you to score. I need this column. Adjusted close, it's very important to know. It has to do with the fact that sometimes companies have a split. at the same day, and then you have to adjust. Split it means when a company saying every share from now on will get another share. Okay, that's like it's known as a share dividend or a split. That's the more professional word to say really. And so this is the column you really want, although you have the clause. 90% of the time, more than 99% of the time will be the same number. But sometimes it's different and you do want the adjusted. Don't take for anything you do, don't take the clause, take the adjusted. Okay, so let's scroll down and we go to December 30. And that's what you should do in your paper if you don't have it reported. Put it in the Excel. That's my price, right? That's the P. And that was 4.55. Okay, now that I have the price, now I need the earning per share. So this one, I can find it going into financials. I will go to, it's probably will be here right away. Basic earning. By the way, what the difference between those ones, okay? Basic earning per share means the way I taught you in the session, okay? That's the basic. Diluted, it's most likely will not be different, but what it really means, if the company has options that they give to usually management, or they have convertible debt to stock, you should take it into account. Since it's so rare and this is really an accounting topic, I didn't want it to confuse you, so I skipped it. But it really should be part of the accounting class. But you should know that there is two concepts: basic earning per share, that's what I taught you in class, and the other one is taking into account if the company has some options that allow somebody to acquire more shares. And then the way you calculate the total shares in the equation we learned in class, you just have to adjust it slightly. And you see here, it's really the same, no surprise, okay? So let's see. The bad news is that the earning per share is negative. Anybody wants to guess why is it negative? What might be the reason it's negative?
The
Is they're
EPS?
losing money.
They're losing money. You're absolutely right. It's really not we don't have to be a genius to know that. Say they're losing money. So that will be, okay, we'll put it, but the number will be skewed. They're losing, it's about 0.04 percentage of a cent. But let's put it anyway. It's not really a good one for us, but let's put it because this is their life. What can we do? So they're losing money, unfortunately. We would think HBO shouldn't lose money, yeah? So this is the price. Here we're putting earning per share. And P over E should be really, that could be really deceiving. I'm glad we got this example. I didn't plan on having this example, but just a highlight to you, be careful when you do those calculations. You're getting a huge number. Not only you're getting it's a negative, you're getting a really huge. That teaches you something, and I'm going to show it in my presentation in a second. The reason you're getting a huge number, not because the price was so high, it's because the earning was very low loss. And, it's like very small losses makes a huge number here. And then you have to be really careful. If this is a good one, most likely you shouldn't use it. And in fact, if you go into my presentation, although I'm talking about the positive one, the same is true for the other one. So let's look at my presentation for a second. And if you dive slowly, I'm just comparing all the stuff and everything I talked about before. It's right here, and I will mention in a minute other method, but let's jump to this screen. This is very, very important. Let me, in fact, the next one. Hold a second, yeah. Okay, those two are really good examples. Here I'm using enterprise value relative to EBITDA, which although it's different, but it's true for all the other ratios. For now, we're focusing on P over E. But in a minute, I'll talk about that one too. But the real phenomena in real life, you will get a curve like that. Those numbers are usually positive, so you won't get negative. P over A, you can get also a negative. And then you might have companies in your sample, like the one we got, although, okay, that it's really high number. So you really shouldn't use it. Moreover, not only you shouldn't use it, don't even try to average them. In my example before, I told you like in the example of the house, we kind of average them to get an idea how much I should pay. In a housing might be a good idea, but in stock, be careful. If you do an average, you might end up that one of the companies has such a huge number. So even if I have another 3 or 4 companies that has P over E around 20, 30, the average will be really negative and a big negative. So when you have exceptional number, be careful. Don't do technical analysis. Think about what those numbers mean. In this case, an exceptional number should be removed. We usually call them outliers. A second way to remove outliers in an elegant way, instead of using average, use the median. So in this case, instead of using the average, I don't know if Excel has median. Does Excel have median? Yeah, it does. So if I take this one, it will give me the median. Okay, that will be probably a better number to use. Because if I had more comparable companies and they are extremely expensive or extremely cheap, this one would not be affected by it. Same things with shares. If this value is such a huge negative big number, the median probably will be around the 20, between 10 to 30. So this one will not be affecting the average or my median, more correctly to say. So that's another lesson. This is the reason why I put this slide here. The distribution of comparable ratios are usually not symmetric. They are definitely not normal distributed. They have a lot of exceptions with a lot of outliers. To avoid that, use the median. So if in your paper, we're going to do that too, okay? We're going to use 3 companies. We used 1, okay? We're going to use another 3. Okay, let's call that company 1, HBO. Let's do another one. So this one most likely should go away because in the median, hopefully the other 2 will be more normal. Somebody suggests another company. Anybody? What another company we can use?
Disney.
Disney, yeah. Let's go look at Disney. Let's use Disney. We see Disney. Anybody say this is it? By the way, is it? No, it is. How do you spell Disney, by the way? Tells you how that.
With I.
The symbol is
Exactly,
DSNY.
You can tell I don't have any more.
DSNY.
I don't have any more
there.
kids at home. Otherwise, I would know definitely how to spell it. Yeah, here it is. Anybody saw the video about this guy? Yeah, don't think that I'm watching all the videos. Yeah, I really don't.
Yeah, he's frozen.
I think it's the story about the guy that developed Disney or started Disney was amazing. I think it's a must-see movie too. Excellent movie. Really, this guy went through hell until he picked up. So anyway, let's go and look at the statistics and see if he gives us this time the ratio of P over E. Oh, here we go. In fact, you know what? I really strongly recommend use forward. Forward is really when they really take into account also what analysts think about it. Or take even both of them, what the heck. Take this one and take the real one. You know, this one, let's see if he didn't really report it here. I like usually also to look. See, it has also enterprise value over EBITDA. I'm going to talk about it in a second. And nice that you have it here so you don't have to kill yourself doing it yourself. But at least you learn that. So let's use this one, okay? pure very forward. So let's take the one as of the end of 2019. So all what you really have to do in your paper, go into this Excel here and just say Disney. Don't kill me, please. I can't spell even my name right. So how do you spell Disney? I should really know. Yeah, Disney. I'm missing an E there. Right? Yeah. Okay, here we go. So really the number here is supposed to be this one. This is really, we already have it. Anybody wants to give us a third one so we'll have a better, because this one really is an exception. This really shouldn't be. We really shouldn't use it. It's, the earning per share is negative. And Netflix is a very profitable company. So we can really rule out HBO as to be a comparable because it's really in a different state. But anyway, anybody wants to give us another company?
Apple TV.
Which one?
Apple.
Yeah, Apple TV. Let's see if they have that one. Yeah, here we go. Very good. Apple TV. And here we go. You know, why didn't give it to me nicely? Apple TV. I just saw it's in there. Did I spell it right? My God, Apple TV.
Because Apple TV is part of Apple.
Yeah, but I thought maybe I just saw it's coming up before. Let's see. It's most likely. No, I don't want it here. I want it. Let's go back one more. Here we go. Let's try it here. I think we might be lucky. Hold a second. TV. Here it is, isn't it? No. No, I don't have
No.
that. It's probably a segment. You're right. It's a segment inside Apple. It's most likely not a subsidiary that is traded. By the way, Google and Google L, they are two separate companies. Google is a company and Alphabet is another company, which is the parents of the true Google. And they both have stock that they are traded in the stock exchange. So for Google and Google Alphabet, you can find, but apparently they are not really traded, so we won't be able to know them separately. Anybody has another idea? Just so to know the method, anybody? What else could be?
I don't have an idea, but I do have a question.
Sure.
Let's say you really want to compare Netflix with other companies, and let's just assume that there are not, looks like there are really no real competitors. But for example, as you said, Apple TV, it's a subdivision of Apple. Couldn't you just take like Apple as a whole, and then the relative part that Apple TV represents in their earnings, for example?
You're absolutely right. In fact, sometimes when you don't really have a choice, that's what you do. And this is why, but you're making your life harder in this stage, the modification.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are not really that comparable. And then you will say,
yeah,
this is make this stage to be harder in the process. When you don't have a choice, you don't have a choice. You know, it's like you're buying a house in Dubai now. There you find comparable houses, yeah. And you bought an island and none of the other islands are the same. And your life is harder, how much you should offer. And those people that are buying an island in Dubai, they don't care how much they're paying, so they don't even do the analysis, okay? But just for a joke. But you're absolutely right. It will make your life harder here. That's really what. But when you don't have a choice. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you try ESPN maybe?
Which one? Yeah, ESPN.
ESPN.
That could be not a bad one. Here it is, isn't it? Let's see if we're lucky.
It's private.
It's a private company. Is there another one? Is there really? I can't believe it's a private company. I didn't really know that.
No, Amazon. So Netflix true competitor would be Amazon Prime Video, but again, it's part of Amazon.
Maybe it's a subsidiary. Let's see, Amazon what?
No, it's part of Amazon. It's called Amazon Prime Video, and it's part of Amazon.
Yeah, that's really another one. See what's happening with all those monsters buying everything?
IPTV. IPTV. IP.
P like in Paul?
Yes.
TV.
El
Let's see.
Chavo del Ocho.
No, it doesn't come out. Is that it? Amazing, isn't it? I'm so
HE.
happy we got this situation because it does happen in real life. You can't really find comparables companies. And this is really one of the harder things why comparable companies is really a flaw to some extent. It's illusion to many. This is an excellent example. I'm glad that we got it. So don't be discouraged if you don't find, even you end up just using one of them instead of 2 or 3. That's fine. I won't take any points out because of that. Okay? So,
Amos,
yeah.
can you hear me? Can you try Comcast?
How do you spell it?
C-O-M-C-A-S-T.
C-O-N, yeah.
C-A-S-T.
Doesn't come up, does it?
With an M, Comcast.
Comcast. Comcast.
Come.
Yeah.
Here it is. This is it?
Cast. Yeah.
C-A.
No.
No, that's not it.
No. C-O-M-C-A-S-T.
CST. Comcast.
AST.
This is it?
S-T.
ST.
S.
F like in Frank?
No, S.
The first one.
This one? Ah,
The
this
first
one.
CMCSA, that
This
one,
is
yeah.
it? Very good. Beautiful. So here we go. Let's see. We wanted to go into statistics, and luckily they will have this ratio. Let's see. Yeah, we're lucky. And let's take this one, 13.11. And theoretically, honestly, I will never do it this way for real life. I was scared to death to put it in court. They would kill me. So, come. Case, is that right? So we're going to here, put this ratio here. And now what are we supposed to do? Definitely, that's what I meant before. We're not going to use the average. No way. That will be total disaster. We really should use the median. Is that right? Okay. And then we take the median, it will be, of course, 21.41. Disney will be the best to use, but usually you really should have more in. I would never. So this is a good example when I would never use relative valuation. First of all, none of those really true comparable to Netflix. Secondly, the diverse that have a losing company, really I shouldn't really be using that, and I'm not by using the median. And whatever, it took randomly probably one of those two, because either of those, no, this is the median, in fact, sorry about it. This is the median. So it took the median, the Comcast, and that's really what I'm supposed to use, okay? Okay, so we finished stage number 2, which we talked about. What will be the next stage? Now we know the P over E we should use. It says we should use this P over E. And what should we do with this number? We really should go and take this number and multiply it by the earning per share of Netflix. Okay, so what is the earning per share of Netflix? So we can use my simulation. And where did we? No, this wasn't it. This. Okay, let's do it again. First, let's go into Netflix. That's will be the easiest. Or you can go and look it up in Yahoo Finance. That will be good too. Netflix. Here we go. And we're going to the data. I should they have their earning per share. And what is it? Earning per share. So I'll take this number for 13. Take that number, put it here in the Excel. And my estimate, it should be that it should be traded for 1311 times 413, and that should be traded for $54 per share. Based on relative valuation, it should be traded for 54. Frankly, I wouldn't do it in real life, definitely not for Netflix. I will most likely will count on discounted cash flow, and discounted cash flow don't rely on the numbers of another companies. It's rely more on the cash flow of the company, and that this problem will not exist at all in doing discounted cash flow. But we just, for education purposes and the way you're supposed to do your paper, this is the method you're supposed to do. Pick up few comparable companies, finding the earning per share for each one of them, take the median, and based on the median, multiply it by the earning per share, and that's supposed to be your estimate. This is your estimated price, of course, per share. Now, when I look at that number, let's see how much it was really traded. It was, if you go here to my simulation, the valuation, I give you that price here. I didn't, here we go, it should be here. How much is the price? Share price, blah, blah, blah. Let me see, maybe I need to, I should have that price, by the way, United States. It should pick it up automatically. So 2019.
Share price is 69.
Yeah, that's about right. So let's write it here. Where do you got it from? Yahoo Finance?
No, from here. From here, 69.29.
What do you see it, by the way?
It's down after income tax. There's share price.
Yeah, I know that I put it there somewhere, but I don't remember now. Here we go. What is it, 69?
69.29.
29. Okay, let's write it down, 69. That's a market price, is that right? $69. Okay, so if I look at it, I would say is 69 is overpriced or it's underpriced. According to what we got, it's supposed to be, it seems like overpriced, but I don't really think so. The variance here in our valuation is so big, probably.
I'm sorry, I missed. Where did we take market price?
This is what the price of the company in the end. Let's look it up, by the way. Let's look it up in Yahoo Finance. Let's do it in Yahoo Finance. So you will know how to do it in your paper, okay? I got to Yahoo Finance. I will go into Netflix. I will go into historical data. And here you get all the prices. We're doing it as of the end. Why are we doing it at the end of 2019? Because we don't have earning or yearly earning for 2020 yet. So the only things we can do it as of the end of last year. So I'm going to the end of last year. Here we go. And that's, well, according to, in fact, this is what I thought I saw before. So this is really supposed to be 323. That's what I remember. I don't know why you got 69. This is really the price I'm supposed to use, by the way. Fair enough? I'm glad you asked. Because I remember this is the number I saw before in my corporate valuation. Let me just put here entertainment just for a second. I should really get the number here. Let me do it again. I went to the wrong place, really. I should go here. Here we go. So if I go to valuation, I should get that number there. Here we go. This is already the number, by the way, 323.57. That's really what I should use, and that's really what you see here as well. You most likely will take it from here. You can use it, my simulations. Okay, you'll see the price, it will put up the price right for you for the end of 2019. because I chose the end of 2019. So my simulation will give you the right number immediately. But you can look it up also for Yahoo Finance. I really strongly recommend you try both of them. And Yahoo Finance is more accessible for you for almost any company. I only report for 3,600, so I don't have all the companies, but Yahoo has many more. So this is really the price I'm supposed to put here. I'm glad you asked. So this is not the number we need this number. Now, when you look at this number, what do you think about this difference? This is a huge difference. Even if by the way, this is really interesting. I got 54. It's quite close to what I got here in the valuation and discounted cash flow, by the way. This is 35. So if I simulate it a little bit, and there's another topic which I'm not going to get into it, is around 45. I might even, there's a different course. Let's say I skew the numbers a little bit. What might be the best scenario? So 54, it's within the range I got in relative valuation, okay? So most likely this is more stable valuation, by the way. But just for ours, we can see there's a big difference between what is being traded to what our valuation says. And their conclusion for that's supposed to be, well, maybe we should watch this company and maybe we should buy an options, a put type of an option. Put type of an options, you make money when the price will decline. In other words, I should expect that this price should go down sometime. The only question is it going to happen the next month, next year, or 10 years from now? If that's going to go down in the next 10 years, that doesn't help me anything. But if I think it's going to adjust in the next year, I can make money out of this stock, definitely. And that's what analysts do in real life, okay? So this is really the method of relative valuation. So let me summarize what you should do for your paper. Stage number one, find comparable companies. Here I tried to find, I had a hard time to find ones. Try your best. At least you know the method and see you can implement it. I used HBO. HBO, it didn't report it, and now I know why, because the earnings per share was negative, and Yahoo was smart enough to realize I really shouldn't count on that ratio. And they even didn't report it. Because using minus 1,000, this is really an unreliable number. Then we use Disney, we use Comcast, and we got the PureVary for each one of them. Please use the median. Do not use the average. And here's an excellent example why not. We use the median. Based on that median, we multiply it by the earnings per share, we're getting the estimated price. Now, after we took the estimated price, we want to compare it to real life. Is it really close? That's supposed to be close to real life. We see it really isn't. So based on comparable companies, yeah, Netflix is overly priced. That's one way I would call it the naive conclusion, but that's the maximum I can ask you to do. The real thing is the next step to be, as we said here, should I modify this price based on the fact that Netflix is very different? And they really are, by the way. They are big time difference than Disney and Comcast. I don't really know Comcast much. I didn't really follow them, but I do follow Netflix big time. And Netflix is really very, very special. If you look at their growth rate, it's huge. Netflix has a very big growth rate. If you go to my simulation, one of the calculations I do there is growth rate, if you see, or effective or return on invested capital. You know, for a company to have a return on invested capital of 7.26 is extremely high. None of the other two, I doubt, they get to 7.3. Secondly, if you look at their growth rate, okay, their expected growth rate, which I report here, it's quite high. Okay, if we go into right here, you get estimated growth rate in the short run of almost 5%, 4.6. None of those companies has 4.6. that expected retail growth rate for 5 years. None of those companies going to have that, okay? So these elements, you're trying to modify now your estimation. So you say, okay, this is high. You know why? Because Netflix is a better company than the other 3 that we looked at them, okay? But I'm not going to ask you to do that in your paper, please. If you want, you're more than welcome, but you don't really being asked to do that. Okay, that's a more advanced course in valuation. And that's the next step we're supposed to do. If we can explain why this should be an exception, then the whole exercise of relative valuation should be thrown away. And honestly, I wouldn't use it for Netflix. It's Netflix, you shouldn't be using relative valuation. Anybody doing another company which is interesting? We can do it. Anybody?
I'm doing on Raytheon, if you're familiar with this company.
Yeah, which one? Let's do it, and then we'll take a break, okay? Which one?
Raytheon.
My hearing is dead now. I don't hear anything anymore.
Raytheon, it's our...
Let me open another another screen. Find it in Yahoo Finance. I can probably do it here. How do you spell how do you spell?
BAM.
One more time.
BAM.
TAM.
BAM. B boy. BAM.
P like in Paul.
B second one. BAM. Brookfield. Brookfield Asset Management. Brookfield. B. B.
Guys, it's better to write, guys, in the chat.
Yeah, how about you write it in the chat?
Come on.
That would be easier.
I'm doing an easy one. It's Hershey's.
Version one.
Easier to spell.
Okay, we can go
That
for
would be a fun one. Anybody writing it there? Can you write it in the chat?
Rebecca, can we go for ExxonMobil?
Hey, the first one that will write it will do it. Anybody? Yeah, go ahead. And you have also comparable companies? Yeah, here we go. Exxon. Oh my God. Yeah, we can find comparable companies to Exxon.
I'm going for Exxon in my final project.
Here's Exxon. Exxon. Here
ExxonMobil, yes.
we go. Here we go. We have Exxon.
Exxon.
Beautiful. So let's see Exxon. Exxon, let's see how much is being traded for. So let's go into historical data. Well, we need that number, yeah. And this is as of last year, 2019. Okay, this is good. It will help you to know how to do that part in your paper. Okay, so here we go. It's being traded for 69.78. Fair enough. Let's copy. Let's make another screen here, and we write here Exxon and price, trade market price. Fair enough. That's what we really want to know. And we want to know if this is overpriced or underpriced. So we're going to use now comparable companies. Company A, what do you think? Which one? There's many of them.
Editor, Chevron.
Write it in the chat.
I wrote to the chat.
Say again? You
I
wrote it?
wrote to the chat. Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah, here we go. Now, Johnson & Johnson, it's...
No, he wants someone to compare. Chevron.
Yeah, I want a company to
okay,
compare,
okay.
Exactly.
Sorry,
And
yeah, I got it.
Chevron, yeah, here we go, Chevron, definitely. How about British Petroleum? I don't know if it's traded in the...
Also.
Marathon, Philips, all of those are big companies that you can...
BP is not American though.
Here we go, we have Chevron. What do we need from Chevron? We need to go into, we need the statistics, that's right. We want to find the POVE. So most likely we'll get it. Yeah, we have a POVE. Here it is, POVE, 15.62. So we're going to write Chevron. We're going to the Excel. Our first comparable company will be Chevron. Fair enough. They are POVE. We have it. This one. What's another company? Any other company? Anybody wants to write it down? in the chat?
What?
Any other company besides Chevron? Phillips Petroleum should be, but I don't know if it's traded in the, yeah, Phillips should be there. Phillips.
You can put try Shell.
Here we go, Phillips. Phillips Morris, this should be International Inc. I think that's might do it.
Mars?
So, yeah, that should be also. Let's go into their statistics. And British Petroleum also should be a good one. This one also, 13.
Philip Morris is not oil and gas.
Yeah, there's another one. I think I'm.
No, Philip Morris is for smoking.
Yeah, exactly. Phillips Petroleum. What is their name? Petroleum. Let's see.
Try Shell. SH.
Phillips.
SHELL.
Yeah. So I see it here. So this is it. Oh, but it's not this one. This should be a petroleum. Let's see which one. Is that the partners? Let's see what this one is. Let's see if this is it. Yep. Let's see if this is it. Oh, yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. This is
You
it.
can try G Energy.
No, this is the one I was looking for. This is the
one.
one that I'm looking for. This is good. So let's go to statistics. In fact, I worked on a case, a big case on those three guys. British Petroleum, Phillips, and Marathon. Marathon is also a big company.
Marathon is big.
Statistics, come on. Here we go. Let's see the ratio. That's 9.97. That tells you how risky those companies are because the ratio is really low. So this is for Phillips. And here we go. We put that one. Let's take one more. How about Marathon? I think Marathon should be there.
Marathon is big.
Is this coming here? Here we go. If we have time, we'll tell you that story. This is really a beautiful valuation case that I worked on many years ago. Very interesting. Let's go into statistics. And let's go into this ratio. And this is a little higher, which is interesting. Let's take this one.
Excuse me, Professor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where we don't select the last year, mean the end of the year, but we select the September. 31st.
Maybe I made a mistake. That's what I wanted.
We have a December.
I used last year. I tried to use last year, if you see.
Yes, last year, but
you're right. I really wanted this one. You're absolutely right. This is the number I wanted. Thank you for telling me. I just assumed this should be the last one. But you're absolutely right. This is not the one I wanted. This is the one I wanted. So
yeah.
Thank you for letting me know. This is right.
I think Philip also.
Was the same?
Yes, the same.
Let's do the same. Let's go back to Phillips.
Okay.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, this is the number I want for Phillips. 1065. Thank you. That's good. I'm glad you got where am I? Good. Okay. Next stage is just to take the median. Very good. Median. And mark those 3. And that's going to be 15 something. Okay. Beautiful. Now that we have the median, this is our estimate of it's our estimate of P over E for our own company. Now that we have the estimate, we need the earning per share of our company. So we need to go back to Exxon. Is that right? Let's go back to Exxon.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to Exxon.
That's the first one.
Yeah. Okay. And here we'll go and what is the earning per share? We go again to statistics. I think it should be there. Or maybe, yeah, here we go. Anybody see earning per share? Here we go, EBITDA.
Try to do a Control F.
Apple, here we go. Now this is revenue per share. Operating, fiscal. Here we go. Market, enterprise, forward. Let's see if it is in the historical financials. Might be. I just had it a second ago. Anybody see that? Here it is. Earning per share, basic earning per share. Let's make sure I choose the right year. Thank you for getting my, yeah, we need this column. So we need earning per share. This column, is that right? 3.36. Make sure again that I'm in the right column. Yeah, I'm in the right column. So let's go back to our Excel. We're plugging this number here. And now we're supposed to do our estimate of price. This is our estimate of the price for Exxon. Multiplying it by 15.62. And that's our estimated price per share. Beautiful. Now let's see how much is what being traded for. And this is the first number we got. So let's go and look at it. This is right there. Here we go. It's being traded for 69. That tells us it's almost 35%, around 35%, I assume, higher traded than what our valuation. Now, what will you do? What will be your conclusion? You know, I can't really conclude immediately because I really need to do the next stage that we have to compare, you know, do the modification. That's the next modification. This is really hard for you to do. Please mention it in your paper. I'm not really asking you because this is really like a team of 5 people for 3 months projects to know how different is Marathon and Philips and Chevron from Exxon. That's a big project. Definitely not for such a short course. But you can say already we're finding out that the price seems like overvalued relative to the other companies. That's the right sentence to say. Is it reasonable or not? You can write in the paper that you need to explore in depth how different is Exxon from the other companies to find out why their valuation is higher. And I will conclude with that kind of a sentence. Okay? I hope that's clear. Good, guys? Okay, I think we exhausted the idea of relative valuation. By the way, as I said, 70% of people doing relative valuation. If you take my corporate valuation course, I usually kill this valuation method. And I also use it at the same time. The reason is it's very easy to explain it, but it's far away from being precise. What I usually do, I do the discounted cash flow and always cross my fingers to hope that the 2 valuation would be similar. Then it's make my life easy. When they are different, I usually just say goodbye. I mention it, I talk about it and say it's less reliable, write everything that I can write about why it's not that reliable, and I will use my discounted cash flow. That's what you should do in real life, okay? But I think it will be really missing something if you don't really know this method.
What's the conclusion for the findings after we compare to other companies?
Yeah, in this case, my conclusion will be that based on the valuation, the price is supposed to be around 69, let's say 70, around 70. That's really what this valuation, the valuation is supposed to be around $53, 52 or 53. In real life, it's being traded for 69, much higher than this one. Okay.
So it's like overpriced. Overpriced.
That's right. So then, but I wouldn't jump immediately to that conclusion. I would say based on the relative valuation, it seems like, that's why I use the word seem, it seems like that the company is being overpriced in the stock market. But in order to substantiate that conclusion, I have to do one more step and find out maybe it's due to the fact that Exxon, it's different than the other comparables. And just mention that. And due to the scope of your paper, you're not going to explore that route. Okay, you're not going to explore that because I'm not really asking you. It's too much a bigger job. Okay?
A small question. We should compare our company with the two other companies that are the competitors or from the same industry.
Correct. So you take, like I did here, this is like Exxon is your company.
Mm-hmm.
You looked for those three are the comparable companies.
Mm-hmm.
Based on the comparable companies, you're estimating what's supposed to be the price of the shares of Exxon. This is based on the comparable companies. You're ending up with the 52.48.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're comparing this number to this number. And then
Got it.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Thank
That's
you.
really a good, I think if you do it this way in your paper, that's perfect. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Please, you notice I went through a hard time with Netflix, but it doesn't, it doesn't shake my confidence because Netflix is really a special company. It's very hard to find another comparable company. HBO we saw. This is really, in fact, I'm very glad we got that example because HBO with a losing money, we really saw two things. One, when I have a losing company and I try to compare it to a winning company, it cannot be a comparable company. Secondly, it's highlighted that it's very dangerous to do an average, use the median, because we saw it was a negative, huge number. Why? Because HBO has a very small loss per share. So when you're taking a price, dividing it by a small number, you're getting a huge number. And then we got it totally destroyed, okay? Here's, what was it? Say for HBO, see, HBO, this is a really inflated number. We shouldn't be using it. So that's why we went to the median. And so I'm glad we got this example. That's really highlighted, although it looks like confusing. But it's a really good one why we're using a median. And that's exactly my point in my presentation, that you should use a median and not, you should use a median and not an average. Okay, when you go here, oops. You should use a median and not an average. That's why I put that chart here. And this is really true for any other ratios. For your paper, I'm not really asking you to use any other ratio. It would be too much. But whoever edit, the same analogy you can use. Enterprise value over EBITDA, we'll mention that in a second, then we'll take a break. But all those ratios has this tendency that you might get a crazy number like we got for HBO. And we should really exclude them. Using a median, okay, takes care of it. That's why that's really the objective of this slide, by the way, to show you the distribution. If you take a lot of comparable companies, most likely the good one will be right here, and the bad one will be here for enterprise value over EBITDA. When you do P over E, you get also negative ones. And those ones you avoid by taking the median, and the median will be around, something around here. And that's a more stable number. It ignores the exceptional one. So the median is a good one to choose. That's the objective really of this slide. And we were lucky we had just examples that just came up automatically. Some things you can do, I will just close the session. For this session, we'll take a break. You can use valuation for something called enterprise value over EBITDA. What do I mean by that? Instead of using, here we used, for the case of Chevron and for Exxon, we use P over E. We could have used the same exercise, and I will give it to you as an exercise. We could have used E over P, enterprise value, divide by EBITDA, and I will explain in a second what is EBITDA. You take that ratio, you find that ratio, you go into Yahoo Finance again, you fill up those three numbers, okay? You will get the median here. So you're supposed to fill up those three numbers from Yahoo Finance, and we saw before you have those numbers. You take the median of those three, and then what you write here, instead of earning per share, you type here EBITDA of Exxon. Fair enough? You type it here. So here you put the median. Let me just mark it here. Here you put the number for Exxon, and that's what you have also in Yahoo Finance. And then all the things you have to do, you take this one times this one. And that's supposed to be the number. Of course, you'll get a 0 because you have to fill up. After you fill up those three, this will come automatically. You fill up this one comes automatically. The difference between this one and this one, it's very substantial. And I'm going to explain it, okay? By the way, whoever does this one, I will give all the point. Whoever does this one, I will add few bonus points, okay? Because this one requires one step further. The next step, this one is the enterprise value. Before I will get to that, I want to explain what is EBITDA. EBITDA is the EBIT, which is operating profit, plus depreciation. One more time, EBITDA is operating profit, which is the EBIT, okay, plus, and let's write it in the same sentence, plus depreciation. Okay, this one trying to estimate more or less the cash flow of the company. Okay, so that's why it's very broadly used by a lot of analysts. Okay, so that's why you use enterprise value. It's the whole total value of the company. What do I mean by that? If we make a little picture here. No, sorry. Okay, if I make a little picture here, like that, here I will have total assets. Here I have the debt, and here I have the equity. Fair enough? We have seen that before. Enterprise value refers to the total value of the assets. I repeat, enterprise value means the value of the total assets. So what we're getting here eventually, this is the value of total assets of Exxon. Fair enough? That's really what we're getting here. This is the total value. So if I want to find out what is the value of the equity, I must subtract the value of debt of Exxon, yeah? I'll write it here, Exxon. Okay, after I put the debt here, the value of the debt here, so I have now, this is the value of the total assets. This is the value of the debt. That will be the value of equity. Now, whoever jump and tell me what's supposed to be, now I'm putting here the amount. So this is the value of the debt. This one minus this one gives me the value of the equity. So if I take this one minus this one, I will get the value of equity. So this one minus this one give me the value of the equity. And that's really what I need. But one more stage I have to do. Anybody jumps, get it right, get a 5-point bonus. That's a hard one. But just use the logic. You can't get wrong. I'm not giving a negative value. You know, I don't give a negative bonus. There's no such things. Think about it. What are we trying to value? You know, what we started with? We started with this number, remember? What do we want to find? This is a hint. The first one jump, doesn't matter, we'll get 5 points. That's a nice way to finish the session before I break. What do you say? What are we trying to estimate? The value of the share, is that right? So this is we have in the stock exchange, we see it's being traded for almost $70. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so what are we trying to do? We did one method, we used the relative valuation, we used P over E. Now we're trying to do the same things, but instead of using the ratio of P over E, we want to use a different ratio. I'm not going to ask you for more than that. This is really 90% of what you're really supposed to know in real life. This is really the most common two ratios that people use. So in this case, what do we really do? See here, we're getting into the price straightforward. Here it's a little more sophisticated. We got the enterprise value divided by the EBITDA. Okay, we multiply it by the EBITDA. We got the total value of the assets. Okay, that's what we got, the total value of the assets. This is really this side. We subtract this one, so we got here, this is not really what we're looking for, it's just one step, only one step to get to what we want. This is total, let me give you a hint. Value of total equity. What are we looking for? The value of what? Of one share, is that right? So how would you find the value of one share if you have the total shares? So what do I need to write here? Number of
shares.
Number of shares.
Number of shares. If you jump to, I have to split the 5 point. Okay, or maybe I will give a little more than 5 point. I don't know, we'll see. Okay, number of shares of Exxon, yeah, is that right?
Yes.
That's right, good. So let's say, I don't know, we have to look it up. And this is where you can find out in Yahoo Finance. So the last step, who wants to tell me to find the estimated price per share? And that's really what I'm looking for. What do I need to do now? Anybody wants to help? Plus, go to where? To here, is that right? Anybody? That's the total value of the equity divided by
Number of shares.
Beautiful. So who's supposed to get the 5 point? Let's open the chat, and we are on a break now. So we will fight. No, we won't fight. So we'll take 20 minutes. How about that? I have 1:45. So we will, let's do 5 to 1. I want to finish. This is really an important last part of the session. In fact, formally, we finished all the topics planned for this course. There's only one element that it's a bonus that I think it's a good one. But before I will go to that, I want to make sure that everybody knows what to do for the paper. So let's go quickly over what we did so far and make sure that everybody is clear on what to do. Then I will get back to the final point. In the homework, we talked about describing the company and that stuff you have learned probably in a lot of other courses. You can use SWOT analysis, Porter, whatever. Just convey the idea that you do understand what this company is about. The next part will be, we learned about vertical and horizontal analysis. You just implement it for your own company. Then we studied last session, ratio analysis. So you calculate the ratios for your own company and you talk about them. Finally, it's what we did today. And I intentionally said it's enough to do for the paper P over E. Very similar to what we did today. If you want to get bonus point, you can also do it for enterprise value over EBITDA, like what I just did in the last few minutes of the session before the break. That's really, and then just write a summary. Whoever feel comfortable can do the introduction and the summary together. When you finish everything, go ahead and go back to the first page. You can call it introductions and summary. That would be also fine. Questions, guys? Is that clear? I hope there isn't something that I left out.
It's clear.
Clear? Isaac?
Yes. Can we consult with you if we have some?
Definitely, definitely.
Okay.
Let me write out my email just in case you don't have it. I think everybody has it, but let me write it down so you can. You might be going behind this one. Yeah, it does. Here it is, my telephone. Hey, you can even call me if you want. The best way to call me is sending me an email and setting up a time with me. Then I make sure that I'm not busy or I'm not in a meeting or whatever. And then I will make sure that I'm free at the time you want to talk to me. You're more than welcome, okay? So this is my email and this is my phone number. Beautiful. So that's concluding our course. Now let's go to the fun stuff. Really, you know, life starts when you know everything. Let's look at some very important topic, and it has to do with merger and acquisitions. And that's the last one. By the way, you have also my recording. You have my Excel. I uploaded an Excel here. Can help you, so I will download it. And the Excel already have only this one, and I'm going to go over it with you. And here you have also my recording of all the stuff that I did. So let's go over it. By the way, why is this topic is so important? Because I really don't think there is a company that doesn't buy another company. If it's mid-sized to a big, definitely, that didn't buy other companies or merge with other companies. So this is really, you know, you want it or you don't want it. That's really what happened. And there is two ways in which companies can manage, okay? By the way, just to at least make you laugh last time, okay? What do you think? Is a marriage, when you get married, is it a merger or is that acquisition? What do you think?
Merger.
Huh?
So it's acquisition of us.
And some people tell me it's a hostile takeover. Okay, but it's not really. Okay, it is really it is a merge. A merge means when you have two companies merging together. Okay, merging, that means put everything together. I'm taking the assets of company A, this is the assets, and take the assets of company B. That's why cash, if this one has a 500, this one has a 500, I will have cash 1,000. We're merging the other assets, and we have other assets 1,000. So total assets, we have 2,000. We combined all the assets. We also combine all the debt. So that's why our debt together is 1,400. So how much left for both of us? 8,600. So we kind of become to be partners of all the total assets and the total liabilities. By the way, just a side comment, if you ever take my course on options, you'll see how important it is to study other topics, because it looks so naive transactions, but it has so much applications to the value of the total debt, the value of the total equity. Could have been a really hard questions to put in exam. Let's say your intuition. What do you think will happen? Say, this is debt that I owe the bank, and this is, let's say, it's what my partner owes the bank. Will the bank will be happy for this merger? What do you think? Will the bank, is my bank and my partner bank will be happy that we are merging everything together? Anybody? That's a good question. It doesn't seem like, why should be any difference? But really there is a huge difference. Anybody has a clue, any idea?
You mentioned that's why the banks like merger from within the couple, right?
Yeah, see, before, okay, I owe the bank 700, my partner owed 700. Now we combine everything together, okay, we bought together all 1,400. I will help you out, I will say, yeah, the bank will love this. Why the bank will love this merger?
Yeah, maybe it's reduce the risk.
Exactly, their risk is much lower now than it was before. Look at it, my bank, if I fall down, if I bankrupt, my bank will not get his money. Doesn't matter if this company will make a lot of money, this company, I will not pay my debt. And the same things. If my partner's company will go bankrupt, they're not going to pay the bank. And it doesn't matter how much profit I make. I can make a lot of profit. I will pay the debt. But I don't have to pay the debt of this guy if we don't merge. But if we do merge, I and my partner are together guaranteed the total debt. So if we make any money, we have to pay both those guys first. So it's like kind of an insurance now. These debt holders are happy. Why they are happy? Because we are, as a shareholders, cannot get any money unless we pay all the debt. On the other hand here, if company...
סופי, לא לשחק עם זה בבקשה. לא, עכשיו לא אוכלים את זה, עוד מעט אבא מכין אוכל, עוד מעט אנחנו אוכלים.
Tell her that I'm holding on too. I'm waiting for the session to be over. Okay, guys. So if we're separate companies, company B doesn't guarantee the payment of the debt of company A. And company A doesn't guarantee the debt of company B. On the other hand, when we combine them together, both companies guarantee the debt of those two debts. Both companies are guaranteeing to pay the debt of both companies, so the banks will love it. By the way, if you study in options, you will learn how to really value by how much the value of the debt will go up because of the merger, but that's a different topic. It's really interesting. Okay, now that we understood merger, we can move to acquisition. Acquisition, it's the most common things that happen in real life, and that's also why we spend most of the time on it. Relatively, the merger is easy, and we covered really 90% of what needs to be known about merger.
היי, סופיה לא שומעת.
So let's move on to acquisitions. What does it mean that company A acquiring company B? First of all, let's understand that sentence.
סופי, מה זה? מה יש לך?
Can you just turn off the video, the speaker?
Yossi, turn off your mic.
Sorry for that.
No problem. Okay. What does it mean that company A acquired company B? Let's take 3 cases. We'll go over 3 cases. Let's take the simplest one. I will rephrase my sentence. Company A acquired 100% of company B. What do I mean by that? Anybody?
They own 20% of the shares.
Oh, beautiful. I like what you said, 100%. In this example, I think 80%, I should change it to 100. They bought the company of A, not the shareholders of A. These are the shareholders. It's like, when I do it on the blackboard, I usually like to put a little man here, or a little woman, okay? And when this is not the acquiring. The shareholders of company A has nothing to do with this transaction. It's the company itself as a separate entity acquiring using the cash in the bank account of company A. They're approaching the shareholders of company B. So I usually like to put a little lady here, okay? So the managers of company A approaching this lady who is the shareholders, let's say she owns 100% of company B. They come to her and said, hey, are you willing to sell the shares? So she said, okay, how much are you gonna pay? Said, well, how much do you want? So let's take the first case, the simplest case. Let's say, okay, we'll pay you 300. That's case number one. We'll do 3 cases. Case number one, pay attention, they're paying her exactly her book value in company B. When they're paying her exactly the book value, what's really happened? Let's take a step. I will do it right here. Okay, let me copy this one. And let's think about what happened. Okay, extend our discussion. What's really happening? Let's copy it to here. This is just auxiliary to help us to analyze what's happening.
I know. I think the price goes up because people are buying, because another company is buying.
No, that's
right? Naturally should go up.
You're thinking as a finance person, which is a different perspective. But let's look from accounting point of view first.
Okay.
This guy's saying, how much do you want? So let's assume what she said, well, it's really worth only 300, so we'll pay you 300. So what happening to company A? What happened to the cash? The cash will go down, is that right? You agree?
Yeah.
The cash goes down, but what do we have instead of it? In the assets, we will have investment in, let's call it investment in company B. And how much did we invest in company B? 300. Fair enough? So if this is really what we had before the acquisition, this is the way the balance sheets looked for company A. After the acquisition, this is the way it will look like. Let me just make a little square here. Okay, so this is the total assets, nothing changed. We paid exactly the value of company B. So that's what look like the balance sheet of company A. Now, according to the rules and the requirements of the SEC, okay, you have in this case to do what is known as consolidated financial statement. When one company have a substantial influence of another company, in this case company A, has a substantial influence of company B. Why? Because company A now have a full control, 100% of the equity of company B. That's considered as a substantial influence. As a comment, substantial influence is when company A acquire more than 50% of another company. The other company considered as a subsidiary, and that's considered as a substantial influence. In that case, the SEC require that you have to prepare, in addition to this financial statement, to prepare what is known as consolidated financial statement. By the way, when you look and you do your paper, the statement that you most likely will deal with is the consolidated, okay? And if you scroll down usually in the 10K, you'll find also this one. So they have to report really two balances, not only one, okay? So when one company acquiring substantial influence of another company, they have to prepare consolidated financial statement. So how do we do it? And what's the rationale? The rationale is that if I have such a substantial influence on another company, we have to combine all the assets together and all the liabilities together. But this is totally different than what we do here. Here we took the total here, add them up. We took all the debt together, add them up, and then the equity is the sum of the two. Here is totally different. And what the rationale? Please pay attention what happened here. In this transaction, when A acquired the equity of company B, in fact, they gave to this lady that used to be the owner of the company B, they gave her $300,000. She took the money and she walked away. She's not an equity owner anymore. The only equity owners left is the owners of company A. So there is no partner here anymore. In fact, the owner of company B disappeared, takes the check, and she goes to the Bahamas with all that money. Okay? And then who is holding really this equity? It's really company A. That's why we have less cash. We have only 200. And instead of those 300 that used to be here, we have another asset called equity in company B or investment in company B. This is really the balance sheet of company A. Nothing really is different. The only difference we're going to do to create the consolidations is we're going to erase those 300. I'm going to do it manually. And then you see how I get from this one to this one. And that will be really a nice exercise. Okay? I remove that number 300. And instead, I even remove this one altogether because I don't have it. And I'm going to replace it by the total assets of company B and total liabilities. One more time. I had here before investment in company B 300. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to put, instead of this 300, I'm going to put what does it represent. What does it represent? It represents this 300. And what is this 300? It is the 1,000 in assets minus 700 is liability. So here we go. I'm going to remove this one. And instead, I'm going to take that 500 and put it here. That will become to be 700. I'm going to take this 500 and add it to here. So I added the 1,000 on the right side. You know, I added 500 and 500. I took those two, I put them here. Since only 300 was down, I have to increase this one by the debt of company B. So this way, I remove the 700, I put here 1,400. It's balanced. That's exactly what we have here. This is the consolidated. Please pay attention. Nothing changed in the equity of company A. Makes sense. The only things in preparing the consolidated financial statement is that whatever we invested, let me go back to it, whatever we invested in company B, we're representing it as if we took all the assets in company B, all the liabilities, and put them in instead of the 300. So I erase the 300 and I put the 500 the cash, the 500 the assets, and the liabilities of company B. I'm done. This one is exactly what we have here. Question, guys? I know that this is a little hard for somebody. They are not, you know, it's your first time you're studying accounting and all of that. That seems like a little hard. Questions, or that's clear, guys?
It's clear, but what if you are not buying 100% of the company B?
Exactly. I'm going to do two more cases. That's a simple case. Okay? Julia, are you happy?
Yes.
Yeah, the right answer is always.
Always, yes.
Good. So let's move on to second case. Go with 3 cases, then we'll cover everything that really can happen in real life. Let's do case number 2 now. Case number 2 is when company A, again, acquiring 100%, but this time they're paying 400. Everybody agree they overpaid, is that right? The book value is only 300, is that right? What will happen here, by the way, now? What do we have here? We'll have not 200, only 100, is that right? From 500, we'll go down to 100. And how much we'll have investment in company B? Investment in B will be 400. Everybody agree? This was the balance sheet of company A. If company A buying 100% of the shares of B, but they paid extra $100, simply the cash will go down by 400. I will have only 100. My investment now, it is 400. So that's the way the balance sheet of company A will look like after the acquisition. So how do we write now the consolidations? So here we'll do a little trick, one little trick. And then it will make it really easy to see so you don't never get lost. We're trying to get to this one. This is the right answer. That's the way it's supposed to look like. But I will go step by step to show how it's being done. So to do it, so to make it easy, I delete this amount and I write here in a book value of B. Book value means it's only 300. And since I paid extra 100, that extra that I overpaid, we call it intangible, goodwill. It's one word, in fact. Fair enough, goodwill. Sometimes I write it as a one word, sometimes, but I think it's a one word if I'm not wrong. Okay? So this is really what I paid. And you can think about it that 300, it's exactly what the book value was. And I overpaid. Why did I pay 100 extra? Maybe because I believe that the book value of company B doesn't reflect a lot of intangibles that company B does have. And that's why people pay overpaying, because they believe what they're buying is worth even more. So if I paid more than 300, maybe I believe that there is some intangible assets, and those intangible assets, we distinguish them from different types of intangibles by calling it a goodwill. So now I'm done. Why I'm done? Because now I can repeat what I did in case number 1. I can erase this 300 and replace it again with the 1,000 of company B assets minus the liability of 700. So again, now I will add up here another 500, it will be 600. This one again will be 1,000, 500 plus this 500. That will give me 1,000. And then again, I will add the 700 of company B. That will bring me to 1,400, and everything's beautifully balanced. That's in a case that I'm overpaying. Whatever I'm overpaying will be here as a goodwill. So you can think about it. When you're overpaying, it's exactly like case number 1. The only difference is that my cash will be down by extra 100, and I will have a new account that says goodwill. That's making it as a simple way of thinking about what's really happening here. What really happened is from 500, it's went down to 100. And that 100, extra 100 over 300, 400 minus 300, it is extra that I paid for some intangible assets. So bottom line is my cash goes down to 100 in this company plus the 500 of company B becomes to be the 600. Other assets combined, it's 1,000. Liabilities combined, it's 1,400. And my equity does not change. By the way, the equity does not change in either of those three cases. We'll see the third case in a second. Okay, so let's do it one more time before I move to the third one. When company A acquiring 100% of company B and paying extra $100 in this case, or $100,000 in this case, we will create an intangible asset called goodwill. And how do we do that? It's the cash goes down from 500 to 100, and we'll have investment in company B. We replace that investment, split it to two. One is the 300 as the book value of the company B, and the extra, we call it intangible asset, goodwill. As an intangible asset, goodwill. Has a special name really. Then, in order to turn these balance sheets into consolidated, it's very simple. We just erase the 300, and instead we add all the assets of company B and the liability, which is the difference is exactly 300. And then we get the consolidated financial statements. Fair enough? And that's exactly what we have on the left side. Please pay attention. Equity does not change. It exactly stays the same. Let's move to the last case. Okay, let's go back to the original case. This time, I'm saying they paid, let's say, 380, I'm just making it up, for only 80%. Or if you want, I can do, let's do 75%. Could be fine. Let's understand what really happened. First of all, for 75%, we paid 380. How much is it, the book value of 75% of the 300? So 75% of 300 it's exactly 225. So how much extra did I pay? I paid extra 380 minus whatever I bought as a book value. That's the extra I acquired. Fair enough? One more time. Since I acquired only 75% of the shares of B, I really own only 75% of this book value. And for that book value, I was willing to pay 380. That means I was willing to pay extra of 155 over the 75% of the book value. So I overpaid 155. So we can immediately say the intangibles is 155. And in a minute we'll see it's clearer, okay? So that's stage number one. Stage number two, please pay attention that in this case that we don't acquire 100%, we only acquire 75%, the previous owner or the previous shareholders, they're still shareholders in company B. So we have partners in company B. What is the book value that belongs to those shareholders? The book value that belongs to those shareholders, it's exactly 25%. So we bought 75%, which is 225 out of 300. And the previous shareholders still own 75%, 25%, which is 75. They are still owner of this amount. So we can't get rid of them. When we do the consolidations, we have to take it into account. So let's go step by step, okay? Let's go step by step, okay? And how do we account and how do we arrive from this balance sheet? By the way, here I have to take it down from 500. It should be 120 because I paid only 380. Is that right? My investment in B is 380. That's the way the balance sheet of company A looks like. It is not the consolidated balance sheet. It's only the one, the regular one. You know, I just bought shares in other company. My cash went down from 500 to 120, and that's what I paid. And whatever I paid, this is really my investment. Now, in order to turn this one to this one, that's the steps we usually do, which is really easy to comprehend. So what we take, we take this one and break it to two pieces first. Stage number one, we know that we overpaid or we paid as a goodwill $155. That means this amount, how much this amount supposed to be here now? Anybody? 225. We did it before. The 225 plus the 155 is exactly what we paid. 225 is exactly our share in the equity of company B. So the 380 really has two components. Whatever we paid as a goodwill and whatever belongs to us as a book value. That's stage number one, very similar to the case number two in a sense. But 225 does not represent the total assets minus total liabilities. So what we do, we take one more step. We open a new account called minority interest. And the amount, let me just write it this way so I want minority interest. It's exactly what it says here. Minority interest represent how much the previous shareholders still hold in the shares of company B, and they still hold 75. Therefore, I can change that one to 300. One more time. Let me go over that one more time. I paid 380, which represent 155 as a goodwill extra payment to the part of the book value the company A have acquired. 225 is the book value, and 155 is what I overpaid, or what I paid for what I believe it's a goodwill, meaning intangibles. In addition, I just want to represent that now part of the shareholders of company B haven't gone home. They still hold part of the assets of company B. So I put them as a minority interest account. They still owe 75 of the book value. Or another word, I have to say, out of the 300, I own 225. That means the difference between the two. I only own the difference, and 75 belong to somebody else. The reason I do that, because now I can jump to what we did in case number 2 and case number 1 and combine all the assets of company B into company A. I can just go ahead, remove the 300 and put what it represents. What does it represent? It represents the 1,000 minus the 700. That will be that from now on, here it should be 600. That should be 1,000. And this one, again, 1,400. So, and that's exactly what you see here. The nice things about this simulation, you can play with it. You can change the numbers and see what the result and test yourself. This one I went step by step so you can really appreciate how nice it is, okay? So, what do we see here? This is a consolidated, this is what you really see most of the time in financial statement, the one that you will see for your company. Most likely, you will see goodwill, you will see minority interest, or you might see a different title, okay? Equity that belong to a third party or something like that. So maybe the title, by the way, it used to be only minority interest. After the IFRS came, they allowed different titles, but it means the same things. So substantially what really happened when company A acquiring not 100% of another company, we usually will see 2 more accounts, goodwill and minority interest. Pay attention here, just for the explanation, I put it in the bottom, but it's usually common to put it in the middle between debt to equity. And this one, don't get confused. It's representing the shares of the equity owners of company B that haven't sold their shares to company A. And the goodwill, it's what company A have overpaid for the 75% they have acquired from company B. Okay, this is really concluding everything that I wanted to go. I stole 5 minutes from your time, I apologize, but I really enjoyed teaching you and I really had a good time. If you have any questions, please contact me and make me a favor. Write a nice paper, so make me happy when I read your paper, okay? And too bad every good thing's ending up, so. And I really hope to see you, hear from you. If you want to join me to Academy City, you're more than welcome. And I wish we have more time. I will show you so many beautiful stuff that we're developing there, also in finance, in other fields. And honestly, I think that Academy City, that's what I believe, gonna be what I think the future of Academy, you know, the real life. Fortunately, we're expanding, we're opening a lot of other types of courses. I just opened that one, by the way, with someone in your class. In addition, with someone in your class, this one, it's expanding the business. I'm opening new courses. This is a beautiful course, totally different topic. I know nothing about it, but I'm learning so much. And I have other people developing. This is a course on advanced city management. That's beautiful. If you guys in your field, you would like to be part of this framework, I would be more than happy. This is going to be redesigned, of course. I believe this one going to move to the left side, redesigning the whole things, but the concept going to stay. You have a good platform to develop any content, and you can even have simulation like I showed you in valuation. So you're more than welcome to contact me. If you have any things that you love and you want to, you're more than welcome. And anything you want me to help you, I'm more than happy. I will be more than happy. So thank you guys. And
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amos.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Professor.
Amos.
Very much. Bye.
And be in touch between
Thank you.
yourself, by the way. That's one of the reasons you're taking an MBA program. So you have colleagues who can share and work together. Good luck.
Yeah.
Really good luck. Have a good
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Shabbat shalom.
Yeah. Shabbat shalom.
Thank you very much for the
Thank you, guys.
interesting course. It was a pleasure. Thank you one more time. Shabbat shalom. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Good luck.